Alrighty, we're back.
I'm back.
As a guest, but we're back with the Vessel Podcast where we discuss the highs and sometimes lows of getting to know God. I am your host, Leanne, and I have my honorary co-host here, Miss Mia Ashley. She's back. She just couldn't stay away, but I told y'all she was coming back, so
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
So today, well, it's March, right?
Mm-hmm.
And March, one of the things I was talking to me about a little bit is Women's History Month.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided that we would talk a little bit about some of the women in the Bible, particularly one woman who is not talked about enough.
Right.
She has a very, very small little excerpt in this Bible, right? To my knowledge, and you know I'm not completely knowledgeable of everything in the Bible.
Don't diminish yourself.
Listen, I know what I know about it, but to my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, Queen Vashti, Vashti,
We'll probably go back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Is not mentioned in any other place in the Bible. Is that fair?
Sure. Yeah.
Y'all fact check this, because that's
Right.
We're not saying that that's fact. That's just to the extent of our own knowledge.
Exactly.
We may be wrong, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to be clear on that I may be wrong about that. But for the sake of this conversation in this episode, we're going to be talking about the unsung hero,
Yes.
Queen Vashti.
Yes.
And so if you know anything about Queen Vashti, you know that she is mentioned and has a very, very, I think, a big role in the book of Esther. I like to think that Queen Vashti crawled.
So Esther, come
Somebody ought to say amen right here. See? I just came up with it in my head right there.
But you are so right, because had she not did what she did, we wouldn't be talking about Esther.
True. So let's do this for the people, right? Let's kind of set up the scene of what we're talking about and why we felt that it was important enough for somebody who's only mentioned in like maybe one or two lines of this entire text and book. Why this is so important.
Okay. So her husband was King Xerxes, and for some of you, you might read different versions of the Bible, and his name is mentioned in different translations. So Ahasuerus and Xerxes, same person, but we're gonna go with Xerxes today. He had a feast, a party, and it was going on and on and on for 7 days. And on the seventh day, after they were good and drunk, but the Bible might refer to it as like happy and merry with wine. Mm-hmm. That means drunk. Mm-hmm. When they were good and drunk, he sent for his wife, Queen Vashti.
Let me read that real quick.
Okay.
Let me read that. Esther chapter 1. Verse, I'll start with 17. It says, "For the queen's action will become public knowledge to all the women and cause them to despise their husbands and say, King Xerxes ordered Queen Vashti brought before him, but she did not come."
She did not come. Okay, so I did a little background research on this, and according to Jewish Women's Archive and womeninthebible.org, the request that he made was not as innocent as we would think. Like, your husband calls you, you come. But no, when they were partying, the men and the women were separate for a reason, because when the men got drunk, you know how things go. So Vashti was off hosting the women somewhere else. He had the men, and they were being manly and drunk. So usually when he would send for somebody to come in that space, it would be his concubine, or in layman's terms, his side chicks. Mm-hmm. And another thing is that the request was almost like asking her to come. Theologians will argue, asking her to come model naked. Now, it talks about come show off your beauty and wear the crown. Some of the articles talk about how maybe the crown was the only thing he wanted her to wear. And so you guys can, I cited my sources, so you go fact check that, do your own research. But even still, even if she was to just come, fully clothed, you're coming in a room full of men who are drunk, and you want me to show off my beauty like I'm some type of trophy or object. So that's really what was behind her no, is that I won't allow you to victimize me.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note, the time period that we're in. So this was unheard of, not common, uncommon, for a woman to say no.
Right. But even further than that, if you know the chapter of Esther, just for her to speak to him without being spoken to make the request that she made was like, I could be killed for asking him something, or I could be killed for making a request. So for her to not be making a request but denying a request,
come on,
it's even worse.
Listen, and that's the reason I say, and I stand on this, is Queen Vashti crawled so that Esther could walk. Because if we know anything about the book of Esther, we know that Esther summons for the king to come, right? And so, which was again uncommon, but it talks about some of the themes in Esther. We talk about courage and identity, all of those things, especially identity, because we know Queen Esther had to kind of lie about her true identity. Disguise herself. Because her actual name was Hadassah. But she had to disguise herself to get in the door. Yes. To do what God had called her to do.
She had to pass.
Come on, listen.
We just finished Black History Month now.
You ever seen that movie? Oh man, Imitation of Life.
No.
Mia.
I'm sorry.
Mia, that's one of you gotta watch that, okay?
Okay.
It's about a woman, she had the daughter, she's from a black mother, and the daughter had to, she basically disowned her mom and went on about life, trying to pass. And then when she died, like...
The girl was mixed.
I think she was mixed or either real light skin. Don't quote me on this. But anyway, it is a good movie to watch. But it has nothing to do with what we talking about. So, so what I want us to do now, I got a few questions I want us to kind of ponder on and give us some thought. So in this situation where Queen Vashti denied the king her presence, when we think about today's time, how do you respond when suddenly you find yourself in a compromising situation, especially somebody, in this case, her husband, the king, and you have to make a choice? Like, have you had to do that in any situation in your life?
Yes, and I probably don't have a specific example right off the top of my head, but one of the things that I got from my dad is that I'm a very analytical person. So even if it were in my my personal life or my professional life, I always analyze. And this is one thing that I learned early on working in higher education, is that working with some of our constituents, whether I'm working with alumni or I'm working with students or I'm working with my coworkers, like, it takes some cool to be able to do that. And so sometimes when you're talking to people and they're trying to get you to do something you can't do, all you can do is say you can do option A or option B. So the first thing I do is like, okay, what are my options? And a lot of times we don't like the options. This happened just the other day at work, honestly. My boss, we were having some policies come down the pipeline that just really ruffled our feathers. And she was like, okay, we have to be solution based about this. So let's figure out some solutions to this. And I said, well, I'm gonna try to figure it out, but I need to gripe about this first. So, truly, but once I got past the griping and the venting, and I'm sure she may have done those things like, why is he asking me to do this? Like, I shouldn't have to put up with this. This is my husband. I don't want to go in there.
Right.
You know, once she got past those, you know, things, like my options are to go in there and be objectified, or to say no. And then I deal with the consequences, the pros and cons of each choice. And then I make my choice. And I'm sure, you know, those are some of the things, but that's kind of how I deal with things. I just, you know, keep it analytical, and that's not always easy.
Yeah. I think for Queen Vashti, you know, for a woman, she's in the highest position as a woman, and she's kind of like
for this position from
exactly.
birth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through training months and months and sometimes years of training to prep, you know, your beauty and your how you carry yourself, how you sit up, and I mean, just really going through all of these things for this moment. And so maybe to some of the other women, they probably think, you crazy girl, you got everything you want, you can get whatever you want, and you gonna tell this man no? I am.
Yeah, and that goes to the identity. Like, your identity and where you are is couched in your decision-making process and those decisions that you come out making. And people begin to see that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for the theme of this episode, talking about how Queen Vashti is this hero, I think for us now today, the lesson is still the same, is who am I? What am I willing to put up with? Am I willing to allow this man or whoever, man, woman, to, like you say, objectify me? I'm going to stand on this. This is who I am. This is what I believe. And if I lose it all, so what?
Right.
I didn't lose my integrity. I didn't lose who I was, my core values. And I'll be fine, because if God brought me to this He'll bring me on the other side of it.
Right.
So, I mean, to me, I think it's profound. And I don't think we talk about her enough. That small little no led to just this amazing thing to happen. Because had she not said no, Esther would not have been queen, because they wouldn't have had a need for a new queen. So Esther wouldn't have been able to fulfill her the will of God, you know, to save her people. And so we would have missed all of that. We wouldn't even had the book of Esther. You know, and the book of Esther, hold on, let me think. What is it? Something about, is it the only book of the Bible
that does not mention God?
Yes. But the presence of God. Hey, oh, she's finna shout, guys. She's finna shout. Yes, it is the only book of the Bible that does not specifically by name mention God. But yet, come on, omnipresent, is that right?
Yes, girl. God, let me find something to throw at you.
Hey, listen. So, okay, so let's bring it even further as we're talking about this no. And you mentioned when we were talking.
Wait, I gotta
say it
because we talk about identity, but we didn't talk about impact, because when she said no, the men were just so, as one of my former students said, they were so shooken. They were so shooken and afraid that other women would follow suit.
Okay, hold it. 18. I want to just read it verbatim. Before this day is over, the noble women of Persia and Media who hear about the Queen's act will say the same thing to all the king's officials, resulting in more contempt and fury.
So they tried to come up with this decree and all that type of stuff to prevent that from happening. And it still didn't work. Here come the next queen doing the same thing. Saving her people. And defying protocol.
Yeah.
Breaking boundaries.
Okay. All right. So let me show you how life works and how God works ultimately. When we talk about women and taking a stand, defying this unspoken protocol, or even sometimes actual spoken protocol, these procedures that made no sense, did not benefit us in any way. You talk about let me bring in the women of Delta Sigma Theta. Come on,
let's do
women's
it.
Suffrage. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Come on, voting rights. And then when we look at some of the things that our people have had to endure and had to stand up for, go against, I mean, of course, we all know stories of Rosa Parks, but she wasn't the first person to not get up from her seat on the bus. She's most noted for it, and we're grateful for.
Which is very parallel to the story we're talking about today.
Absolutely.
We talk about Esther, but we don't talk about Vashti. Yeah. We talk about Rosa, but we don't talk about Claudette.
Come on.
So we gotta lift our people up.
That's right. And that's right. And I think this is why it's important to shine the light on some of the smaller voices, but have the greatest impact. Because yes, they paved the way for us to be sitting here to have our own platform so we can talk freely about these types of things. It started right here.
Amen.
So this is good. So yeah, I wanted to read that specifically from that verse. And again, this is the only time we hear from Queen Vashti in the book of Esther, because it really focuses on her story and her triumph, really, to get to the other side. Okay, let's keep moving. Hold on, I'm gonna get into my other question. One second. My screen went out. All right, so here we go. So how willing, I want you to think of your own life.
Okay.
How willing are you to accept the consequences of stepping up and voicing your true opinion in certain situations? What is the process? Now, I know you talked about being very analytical and thinking through, what all could happen. Yeah. But, I mean, truthfully, how willing are you to take a stand like that?
I think once I've gone through the process of what the consequences are on both sides, once I'm ready to make that decision, knowing the consequences, I'm good, because I kind of subscribe to, the greater the risk, the greater the reward.
Yeah, I like that.
So when there are great risks that I have to take and that might not go so well, I'm okay with that, because I understand what I was going for. And that I truly was invested in that outcome, that great reward. And if it doesn't come, whatever the consequences are, I put my big girl panties on.
I'm with that.
Deal with it.
I'm with that. I like that. I think for me personally, depending on what the situation is, something that if I feel strongly about it, if I feel led by God to do it, I don't it's not even a question for me.
Like, that's good.
You just do it, and everything's gonna work out, even if initially it may seem tough, hard, but I think it will be worth it in the end. But you just have to get through it and feel and have so much faith in God and in the will of God that nothing that happens to you, it will affect you.
Right. That's the benefit of being in the will of God.
Yeah.
Is knowing that no matter the outcome, that you will be covered. Yeah. And knowing that you're in the will of God will give you the peace that you need when the consequences just seem unbearable.
Yeah. That's good. Oh man, it didn't work. My air horn. Thank you. What's wrong with my air horn?
I don't know.
There you go. I'm pressing it. You just gotta press it and let it go. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm still learning. Okay, I'm telling you, I need me an engineer. To handle those things.
One day, God's gonna bless.
Come on, He's gonna bless it. Ooh, wee. All right. So this is good. See, this I've never. Yeah, we cooking with hot grease now. The fish ready to be dropped. Boom, it's ready. All right. So we back on Queen Vashti, and this is how I want us to kind of round out this conversation.
Okay.
How do we think Queen Vashti? And we kind of hit on this already, but I want a very specific, synopsis of this and answer. How do we think she has influenced today's woman? I want you to think about who we are as women today. What are the major takeaways from Queen Vashti that we can still apply today, tomorrow, and forevermore?
I think it's so profound. The impact that she has, and even when we don't know that she has this impact, because like we said, she's an unsung hero, but there is this I was just talking to someone in my cohort last night about African principles, and one of them, I think she said it was Nomo. It's another unsung type of principle that not a lot of people know about it, but it just talks about how things are just like the African spirit just emanates in us, and we might not even know it's there, but it's just something that's in us through and through, even from the motherland to here is us being African Americans. And so knowing that she crawled that so that Esther could walk, and she started a lot of the courageous identities that is very prevalent in our society today. And it's not that it was never there. We are just reaching to a place where it's way more visible.
Yeah.
Because we all know that women ran the church back in the day. Okay? Many congregations would not be as strong as they are if it weren't for Black women. And now you have women like Vashti Murphy McKenzie, who was the first AME bishop elected, and she's in a very visible role and breaking barriers in that sense. But this is nothing new. Nothing new under the sun is what the word says. Nothing new.
That's in Ecclesiastes. Yes, there is nothing new under the sun. Something about life being like a pursuit of the wind
and timing. There's a time for everything.
There's time. There's a season for everything.
So with this being Women History Month, we're in a season where we celebrate and we talk about all of our accomplishments. And I was talking to my mom and my dad kind of about this a little bit before we recorded, and I think one of them, I don't know, talked about how they were watching the State of the Union with the president, and he had two women sitting behind him for the first time. So, but wait, I might be saying this wrong. That was my pastor that said it in church. Not my mama or my dad. My pastor said that. Reverend Buckley, hey, shout out Reverend Buckley, K. Chapel, Jackson, Mississippi, 1000 West Redway Street.
Okay.
So this is, Vashti did what she did so that, we can be in a place where we are now, so that women can run for president and be the Speaker of the House. And so we can have these for such a time as this moments, so that women can walk in our true purpose that God intended for us.
Yes.
Even though, Eve kind of rocked the boat in the beginning, there was always that leadership in her.
Was it really Eve that rocked the boat?
Oh, girl, that's another podcast episode.
I mean, come on. You're right. That's another episode because that's debatable. But yes, I am so grateful for the sacrifice and the courage and just the willpower that Queen Vashti represented in this short little excerpt in Esther. Because, when I think about all of the great things that women have done since then, I'm encouraged because now I know that it's even going to get better as the years pass and as more women are willing to step up. And it's not a mission to want to just be, in power, or just be just be over everything and all that kind of thing. But it's about just being who you are and being okay with it, being able to stand in what you believe in and get the same respect that men get.
Yes, so, being like what you said, being able to be who you are and being recognized.
Yeah, for sure.
For all of it.
Absolutely. That's good. So, yeah. I think that's a good stopping point right there, because we got some real good takeaways from our girl Vashti. There are many. I think you mentioned your mom knows some other women named Vashti or Vashti. We're not sure how you pronounce it. So somebody caught on, to be naming their kids that. So that's good. I think there's I want to say it's a DJ by that name too, famous DJ. But anyway, so yeah, I'm encouraged by the by our unsung hero, Queen Vashti.
Have you mentioned their stickers?
Oh no, I had. I'm gonna get some of those stickers. Mia has one on. I got one on my laptop, on my computer, because I want to say her name.
Yes,
okay? Her name needs to be known, and just like all the other great women in this world, and I'm so encouraged by that, and just inspired really by that. So I want to give a little plug here for the next episode.
Okay.
I have two good folks coming on here. Where we're gonna be talking about. We're gonna do a little book review on red lip theology.
Red lips. I got some red lip.
You got a red lip now, okay?
Yeah.
By Candace Marie Bimbo. If you guys have not heard of her, look her up. She's a just great theologian. I would say, should I say unconventional? I don't know. She just has her own like thing, and she's in her own lane, and I love it. There are a lot of great tidbits in her book, her new book that has come out. So me and a couple of my friends, we're going to do a little brief kind of book review, summarize it, and tell about our takeaways from it, and it's gonna be great. So you don't want to miss it.
Looking forward to
it. I don't want to spoil it, but it's just gonna be. It's gonna be really good. It's got some interesting themes.
Give us one teaser highlight.
Let me see. What can I say? That was fun. Okay, so one of the things that she talks about. Matter of fact, I tell you what. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pull up because Red Lip Theology is the main title of the book, but it has like a little subtitle, and I want to read it because that's gonna make you really want to know more.
Okay, when you say red lips, red lip theology. That's giving me the Scarlet Letter. Is that kind of in?
I don't know enough about the Scarlet Letter to say.
Okay, the Scarlet Letter is like whenever somebody would, I think back in the day, whenever somebody would be maybe caught in sin or something, they would have to like wear a red A, as in like adulterer.
Okay.
So it was like outing a person for being sinful.
Okay.
Or contrary to what they were supposed to be doing.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Because her theology kind of it does not completely align with what we have been taught in the church, and specifically in the Black church.
Okay.
It's kind of like a liberation for Black women of faith. It's like this.
So a new take on womanism.
Absolutely. She is a womanist. She is a Black womanist theologian.
Gotcha.
Thank you for bringing it home. So Red Lip Theology for church girls who've considered tithing to the beauty supply store when Sunday morning isn't enough. Now, if that's not enough to want you to read this book, I don't know what is.
The beauty supply.
Yes. And she talks about her relationship with her mother. Gosh, I'm gonna get into the next episode. I can't do it. So we're gonna wrap this thing up.
That's enough of a tease.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. But Mia, as always, thank you for lending your voice to this platform and sharing your experiences with the people and talking about, our girl Queen Vashti.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I look forward to being back.
All right, we can come back. Say it on air so we can. I'm gonna time stamp it so I can hold you to it.
What's this? March. I'll be back in May.
Okay, so one last thing. Mia is working on her dissertation. She's almost done. She's hoping to be completed soon, over the summer maybe.
I'm praying by May. That's why.
By May, come on, May. Dr. Ashley is in the making.
I'm hoping to defend by May.
Yes, and we're gonna be on that defense call. If it's in person or on the Zoom, we're gonna be there to support.
Zoom on in.
Zoom on in. Tell people what the dissertation title is.
I haven't even gotten there because I'm gonna figure out the title after I finish, and I'm on my last chapter. Okay. But this is where I am.
Okay.
Have you ever seen those memes about where black people go back and forth naming just regular things as if it was a dissertation topic?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I thought about. But okay, here's what I'm thinking: religion and Black Greek letter organizations, a thematic analysis of why people say they denounce BGLOs.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued.
I hope it makes you want to read it, but I know most people won't read it, so I'm gonna invite you to my defense.
You know, like give me the summary. Give me the what you call the little
Abstract.
The little abstract. It's been a while for me in school. I got to get back in the classroom. But anyway, all right, we've reached our time. Mia, thank you again. And with that, peace.